How did the Viscount Albert fall into Luigi's hands? Excellency, the Frenchman's carriage passed several times, the one in which was Teresa. The chief's mistress? Yes. The Frenchman threw her a bouquet, Teresa returned it, all this with the consent of the chief, who was in the carriage. What? Cried Franz. Was Luigi Vampa in the carriage with the Roman peasants? It was he who drove, disguised as the coachman, replied Peppino. Well? Said the Count. Well, then, the Frenchman took off his mask, Teresa, with the chief's consent, did the same. The Frenchman asked for a rendezvous, Teresa gave him one, only, instead of Teresa, it was Beppo who was on the steps of the church of San Giacomo. What? Exclaimed Franz, the peasant girl who snatched his mocoletto from him. Was a lad of 15, replied Peppino. But it was no disgrace to your friend to have been deceived, Beppo has taken in plenty of others. And Beppo led him outside the walls? Said the Count. Exactly so, a carriage was waiting at the end of the Via Macello. Beppo got in, inviting the Frenchman to follow him, and he did not wait to be asked twice. He gallantly offered the right-hand seat to Beppo, and sat by him. Beppo told him he was going to take him to a villa a league from Rome. The Frenchman assured him he would follow him to the end of the world. The coachman went up the Via di Ripetta and the Porta San Paola, and when they were 200 yards outside, as the Frenchman became somewhat too forward, Beppo put a brace of pistols to his head, the coachman pulled up and did the same. At the same time, 4 of the band, who were concealed on the banks of the Almo, surrounded the carriage. The Frenchman made some resistance, and nearly strangled Beppo, but he could not resist 5 armed men, and was forced to yield. They made him get out, walk along the banks of the river, and then brought him to Teresa and Luigi, who were waiting for him in the catacombs of Saint Sebastian. Well, said the Count, turning towards Franz, it seems to me that this is a very likely story. What do you say to it? Why, that I should think it very amusing, replied Franz, if it had happened to any one but poor Albert. And, in truth, if you had not found me here, said the Count, It might have proved a gallant adventure which would have cost your friend dear, but now, be assured, his alarm will be the only serious consequence. And shall we go and find him? Inquired Franz. Oh, decidedly, sir. He is in a very picturesque place. Do you know the catacombs of Saint Sebastian? I was never in them, but I have often resolved to visit them. Well, here is an opportunity made to your hand, and it would be difficult to contrive a better. Have you a carriage? No. That is of no consequence. I always have one ready, day and night. Always ready? Yes. I am a very capricious being, and I should tell you that sometimes when I rise, or after my dinner, or in the middle of the night, I resolve on starting for some particular point, and away I go. The Count rang, and a footman appeared. Order out the carriage, he said, and remove the pistols which are in the holsters. You need not awaken the coachman, Ali will drive. In a very short time the noise of wheels was heard, and the carriage stopped at the door. The Count took out his watch. 12:30, he said. We might start at 5 o'clock and be in time, but the delay may cause your friend to pass an uneasy night, and therefore we had better go with all speed to extricate him from the hands of the infidels. Are you still resolved to accompany me? More determined than ever. Well, then, come along. Franz and the Count went downstairs, accompanied by Peppino. At the door they found the carriage. Ali was on the box, in whom Franz recognized the dumb slave of the grotto of Monte Cristo. Franz and the Count got into the carriage. Peppino placed himself beside Ali, and they set off at a rapid pace. Ali had received his instructions, and went down the Corso, crossed the Campo Vicino, went up the Strada San Gregorio, and reached the gates of Saint Sebastian. Then the porter raised some difficulties, but the Count of Monte Cristo produced a permit from the governor of Rome, allowing him to leave or enter the city at any hour of the day or night. The portcullis was therefore raised, the porter had a louis for his trouble, and they went on their way. The road which the carriage now traversed was the ancient Appian Way, and bordered with tombs. From time to time, by the light of the moon, which began to rise, Franz imagined that he saw something like a sentinel appear at various points among the ruins, and suddenly retreat into the darkness on a signal from Peppino. A short time before they reached the baths of Caracalla the carriage stopped, Peppino opened the door, and the Count and Franz alighted. "In 10 minutes, said the Count to his companion, "we shall be there?" He then took Peppino aside, gave him an order in a low voice, and Peppino went away, taking with him a torch, brought with them in the carriage. "5 minutes elapsed, during which Franz saw the shepherd going along a narrow path that led over the irregular and broken surface of the Campagna, and finally he disappeared in the midst of the tall red herbage, which seemed like the bristling mane of an enormous lion. "Now," said the Count, "let us follow him." Franz and the Count in their turn then advanced along the same path, which, at the distance of 100 paces, led them over a declivity to the bottom of a small valley. They then perceived 2 men conversing in the obscurity. "Ought we to go on?" asked Franz of the Count, "or shall we wait a while?" "Let us go on, Peppino will have warned the sentry of our coming."